speak to you here on NewsX World. Thank you very much for taking the time and joining us. We now move on, and US President Donald Trump met with New York City Mayor-Elect Zohran Mamdani at the White House in what many expected to be a political showdown. Instead, the meeting turned warm and constructive, surprising observers. Despite campaign barbs, Mamdani having called Trump a fascist and Trump's team labeling him a communist, both men focused on their shared priority, addressing New York City's affordability crisis and cost of living challenges. Trump praised Mamdani as a great mayor and said he was confident he could do a very good job. Mamdani returned the compliments and highlighted their shared love for New York and Queens roots. They also discussed crime and federal immigration operations, with Trump saying he would feel safe in a Mamdani-led city. This friendly rapport could undercut Republican efforts to portray Mamdani as radical ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. We're now joined by David K. Johnston. He is an American author and he joins us live from New York. Thank you very much, David, for joining us. David, not quite the showdown we expected. Both have thrown insults at one another. However, when the two men met, it seemed to be quite warm. What were your thoughts on the meeting? Do you think Donald Trump actually was quite fond of Zohran Mamdani?
No, I think this was very revealing of the characters of both men and of the position Trump finds himself in. Donald has a long history of taking crystal clear waters and muddying them. And in his statements at the White House, he was trying to open up for himself an array of options for dealing with Mamdani in the future so that it would appeal to the MAGA base, would not enrage people he doesn't necessarily need to upset. A good example of this was in his January 6th talk to the crowd that then went and attacked the U.S. Capitol, where all the way through he said, you have to fight like hell. And then he said one time, now be peaceful. So, of course, he's always been able to say, well, I didn't promote anything but peace. And the same thing here with Mamdani. We'll see how long this bromance lasts, because it won't. It's just the nature of things. In the case of the mayor-elect, he has proven incredibly skillful and adept at winning people over, at persuading people who are critics to think of him differently, and he's quite charming. And in addition, he had going for him that the results of the elections, including for mayor of New York across the country, are very bad for the MAGA movement and for Trumpism. And the interior details of who voted, just beyond the gross vote counts, are deeply troubling Republicans. I think you'll see more people joining Marjorie Taylor Greene in deciding it's not worth it. We're going to be the minority party in 2027 and leaving office.
Yeah, and David, of course, do you think this friendliness undercuts Republican efforts to paint Mamdani as a radical ahead of the 2026 midterms?
Oh, I think he's seriously damaged, if not killed, any small prospect that Congresswoman Elise Stefanik had. She is the expected Republican candidate for governor of New York against Governor Kathy Hochul, a Democrat. And her big issue was, we have this lunatic communist running New York City. That's just been taken away from her. And this is indicative of how Donald is not a strategic thinker. He thinks about Donald, not about the party, not about the country, not about you. He thinks about Donald.
Yes, David, do stay with us as we have further stories coming out of the United States. US President Donald Trump has announced the immediate termination of temporary protected status for Somali immigrants in Minnesota, a program that began in 1991 under George H.W. Bush. Trump cited alleged Somali gang activity and missing funds in the state, though he provided no evidence to support these claims. The TPS program protects foreign-born individuals who cannot safely return home due to conflict or natural disasters. Under the Biden administration, Somalis were eligible for TPS through to March the 17th of 2026. Most Somalis in Minnesota are US citizens, and only 705 Somali-born individuals nationwide currently hold TPS, according to the Congressional Research Service. Trump has described Minnesota as a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity, referencing unverified reports linking the Al-Shabaab militant group to fraud in the state. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has criticized the move, calling it a broad targeting of an entire community. Advocates warn the decision could disrupt families and harm legal immigrants. Now we move on, and the US Federal Aviation Administration has issued a warning to airlines about a potentially hazardous situation while flying over Venezuela. The FAA attributed this to the escalating security situation and increased military activity in and around Venezuela, which may pose risks to aircraft at all elevations. Recently, the US has conducted a significant military buildup in the Venezuela region, including the deployment of the Navy's largest aircraft carrier, several warships, and F-35 aircraft. The US government has also carried out military strikes against boats suspected of carrying drugs from Venezuela and other Latin American countries. Direct flights by US passenger or cargo carriers to Venezuela have now been suspended since 2019, but some US airlines still continue to fly over the country for routes to South America. Meanwhile, the FAA has stated that Venezuela's military exercises and the mobilization of thousands of military and reserve troops have raised concerns. While Venezuela has not shown an intent to target civil aviation, the country's advanced fighter aircraft and air defense systems present a low-altitude risk. David K. Johnston joins us once again. David, is this measure put in by the FAA? Is this warranted, given the current escalations in the region?
Well, yes, given that we have 16,000 American troops, the world's largest warship, the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, there, and there are lots of indications the U.S. may invade Venezuela, even though there's no lawful authority to do so. There has to be a notice to airmen. That's what was sent out, NOTAM, notice to airmen, to stay out of that area at any altitude. And if you're flying from, say, Los Angeles to Sao Paulo or Rio de Janeiro or Buenos Aires, you would on many routes fly over Venezuelan airspace. So this is a warning to stay away from there. And commercial aircraft will adjust their flight plans to take that into account.
Yes, David K. Johnston, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. It's a pleasure to get your insight. Well, that's a wrap on America 360 for today. Keep watching NewsX World.